What's going on, guys? Super excited about this video because today we have a guest photographer, a good friend of mine, Robert Zimiga. He's a professional photographer out of California, and he is going to teach us, he's going to give us some tips on how to photograph the star trails. Real quick, guys, I can't really look up in the lens because you're going to see a lot of reflection from the monitor, so don't think I'm like being shy or anything like that. All right, cool. Robert, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the whole star trail pictures.
All right. Well, I've been in the film and TV industry for about 17 years. Worked on a couple of different shows, doing lighting reference for Starship Troopers, the movie with the boats, and a bunch of different TV shows. CSI New York. Actually worked in New York on the Bar Walter show.
Nice.
With lighting, camera, and stuff like that.
Nice.
But yeah, so now I'm in photography. Been doing it for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Been pretty solid working.
Cool.
Doing what I can. So.
And you're really getting into this whole landscape stuff.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm part Native American, so I've always had like a feeling, I feel in touch
with nature.
So.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So give us some tips, some of the things that you did, like settings and composition, things like this with your star trail pictures. And my understanding is this was also featured on B&H's page as well.
Yeah. They listed it. They put it up as a star trail example, and then listed where the sites where you can learn as well. Right.
Nice.
Below it.
All right. So what did you do to get this image? Like, tell us the exposure, things like that.
Well, this is a 45-minute exposure. It was taken at Joshua Tree National Park. 45-minute exposure at f5, ISO 100.
Okay. 45-minute because obviously you're photographing the star trails. How does this interfere with other lights around, like, light pollution? Is that a concern?
Yeah, definitely. You want to always you want to move away from any kind of city lights if you want to get the true nice bright star trails, because you get the city lights that kind of muffle it a little bit.
Okay.
And you want to be able to get nice crisp star trails. Actually, what's funny about this is originally I wasn't going to do 45 minutes.
Right.
But I had a little too much to drink and I forgot. It went like 15 minutes too longer. I was like, oh man. But it went back and it worked out. I wish I had more time. It was going to actually be longer, but
right.
This one was only supposed to be 30, ended up being 15 minutes longer.
So it's not that easy to overexpose, basically, the picture. Like if you were to go, because initially you were going to do less than 45, you said?
Yeah, because what I was also keeping into consideration was the campfire.
Right.
It was a campfire which is lighting the rock.
Right.
That you see
right.
on the left hand side.
Right.
And then you have we also had a camp that was behind us, which they had their lights on and cars backing up.
Right.
So I was trying to kind of keep it low.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure how that ambient light was going to react.
Interfere to your exposure. Okay.
Right.
So 30-minute exposure, 45-minute exposure, maybe even longer. So take a test shot and see how it looks. All right. Tell us about the composition, because you see these star trails kind of closing in and it's forming like a circle kind of thing. It's getting tighter. Yeah. How do you get this?
What I did is I took a few test shots, and personally I use 100 ISO. I always use the lowest ISO that I could go at all times. In the remote chance that I catch something pretty interesting.
Right.
And when you do star trails, you need to allow a lot of time.
Right.
You can't be, you run out there just for one shot and take off. If you want to get nice star trails, you need to make a night of it.
Right.
And what I did is I actually did a bunch of test shots. And if you don't, I have an app that I use called Google Star Maps.
Okay.
And you hold up the phone.
Right.
And it will guide you to the right, to where the northern star is.
Where the northern star is.
Right. That's the one that's in the middle, and everything's circulating around.
Right.
So So you do a bunch of test shots
Right.
and look for the trails.
Right.
And then you recompose and
Right.
you just recompose. So it took me technically just with the camping one.
Right.
It took me about 4 times,
Right.
4 or 5 times,
Right.
waiting 20 minutes,
Right.
or so,
Right.
to get it right. So it wasn't just plop the tripod down.
Right. So if you don't have the app, basically take a test shot, look at the directions of those stars where they're closing in, and just change your composition based on that.
Yeah. What I before I realized the app,
Right.
what I would do is what happens is toward the northern star, the circles get smaller.
Right.
So you just look for when you're looking in the camera and you see the circle, circle, circle.
Right.
As it's getting closer to the northern star, you want to make sure you pan up.
Right.
Or at least recompose to have that northern star in the shot.
In the shot. Right.
Yeah, I love having the northern star in the shot, and having the full circle.
It really makes your composition more interesting. Right.
Absolutely.
And I also noticed that you didn't just photograph the stars. You also had, in a couple of pictures, you had something else in the foreground.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always important to have something in the foreground to show it shows, well,
Tells a
first
story.
Off, it shows your location.
Right.
And it also gives you a size comparison between the foreground and the star trails themselves. It makes it more interesting. It makes it a lot more interesting.
Right. It adds more character to your picture.
Right.
Robert, any other tips weather-wise? Like what's a good time after the rain, things like.
Yeah, well, yeah, after the rain, that's a good point. Yeah, you want to go sometimes after it rains, like the best time.
So basically, you're looking for basically clear skies.
Correct, clear skies. You want to get away from the city. That's number one.
Right.
Always make sure it's on a crystal clear night.
Right.
It's worth the wait. If you're out there and you see clouds and you're hoping they're gonna pass, honestly,
don't take
it up.
Right, because you're doing 45-minute exposure. Chances are the wind's gonna blow those clouds and it's gonna be in the frame and it's just gonna mess up everything.
Correct.
Right.
Also, what I do sometimes is I look at, this is what I do. I look at the weather forecast for a 5-day period.
Right.
I also look at humidity.
Right.
That's something I do. I really think that makes a big difference when you look at the difference in humidity in the air, because obviously if there's humidity in the air, your star trails won't be as bright. Clouds coming off the ocean and stuff like that. So you want to definitely look at the weather.
So avoid, don't be near the beach, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, because you get the marine influence, especially in California where I'm at.
Right.
We get this thing called the marine layer, and sometimes it goes pretty far in.
Right.
Well, usually when I do my star trails anyways, I leave the city. I get out.
Robert, say that again. Your voice started breaking up. When you do the star trails, you said.
When I do the star trails, I leave the city.
Okay.
I get out of the city.
Right.
And I get away from the marine influence.
Right.
Just the clouds, the fog that comes in off the ocean.
Right.
Sure. For me, deserts are the best place. It's nice, dry, summer. Usually summer is like the best time.
And there's no light pollution there either.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's nice here. Nice.
All right.
Here.
Now you are in Cali, northern hemisphere.
Yes.
What if someone is in southern hemisphere? Is it different, or is it?
Well, the star trails go a different way. You need to do a little research on the southern hemisphere.
Right.
There's definitely use an app if you have it.
Right.
Experiment.
Right.
That's the most important part. Don't be afraid. Make sure you get. Oh, one thing that I need to mention is you need to get a remote shutter release, intervalometer.
And do it. Okay.
Something to release the shutter, and you need to be in bulb mode.
In bulb mode, right.
Yeah, because some cameras are limited to 30 seconds.
Right, which is not going to give you any star trails at all.
Not going to give you any.
Right.
But you need to get a remote shutter release that locks, so that you can walk away and look at the time on the back of the camera, or you can set it.
Right.
to turn off. But you can get those pretty cheap online. But that's the best thing that I use.
Right.
Able to set it and walk away. And
Right.
like this instance, I had a few drinks, came back, was ready. So
now, if it's really windy, can we assume because you're doing 45-minute exposure, the wind would add a little bit of extra camera shake?
Yeah, definitely. You want to add, what I usually do is I bring a sandbag.
Okay, to
Sandbag.
tighten it down. Right, right. Okay. So
If you
with
don't
your
have a
tripod,
sandbag,
use a sandbag. Make sure it's very, still and steady.
yep. Or if you don't have a sandbag, great. You can use your camera bag. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Hold on a second.
All right. Yeah.
An important thing is when you're shooting any kind of long exposure, not just star trails, but shooting at the ocean, or you want to get them to the ocean, or star trails especially, you need to have something to keep the tripod stable.
Right.
What I use is I use a sandbag.
Right.
Now, if you don't have a sandbag, you can use your camera bag.
Right.
Put it on the hook.
Right.
Or what I also do is I put it on. If I don't have a hook, sometimes I just have a regular tripod. That doesn't have.
Right.
Yeah, some people might not have.
Right. Right.
You can put rocks
around it
on the legs.
Right.
Or you can put your camera bag in the middle.
Right.
And that'll help keep it stable. So
Okay.
it's really important not to have that tripod
Right.
moving around.
Or maybe grab a couple of grocery bags and just put sand in it or rocks in it, and just hang it on the hook. That would also work. I'm always trying to come up with ideas where we could save some money, to people who don't want to buy a sandbag just to take a couple of pictures. So an alternative would be your camera bag, or just get a grocery bag, put something heavy in it, and just hang it on a tripod.
Another little tip is if you have a camera strap,
right,
your neck strap,
right,
take it off,
right,
or wrap it with a bungee,
so it's not tangling,
so it's not moving the camera around. If it's a windy day, especially.
Right, right.
What I do is I usually do that,
right,
and I try if I can, because actually that night of the one with the tent,
right,
that was a windy night.
Okay.
And what I did is I took some rocks,
right,
and I also put the sandbag on top of underneath.
Underneath it, right.
So that's the cheapest way. If you got rocks around,
right? Because if your camera is not stable, if the tripod camera is not stable, your pictures are just going to be blurry.
You're going to see really squiggly star trails.
Right.
It's going to be out of focus. I mean, it'll look like it's out of focus.
Right.
One important part is set your focus to infinity.
Okay.
That's one thing I forgot to mention.
Right.
You set your focus to infinity.
Right.
And with Canon, certain lenses you have to put it right before the little infinity sign instead of right on it.
Right. And
that's part of test shots.
Right. I've actually done a video on it explaining the two different ways that you're talking about. One is past infinity, and one is right before that. So if people are not sure, they can watch that video. All right, I think that pretty much sums it up. Robert, thank you so much for doing this, for taking out the time to do this video for us, and hopefully we'll catch you next time. Awesome. All right, thank you guys. Take care.